What if the dream you fell into was not random at all? What if every strange door, every impossible creature, every riddle, and every whispered question was quietly asking you the same thing? Who are you when the world around you no longer makes sense? Tonight, we are going to follow a girl named Alice as she drifts from an ordinary afternoon into one of the most unusual dreams in all of literature. She will fall down a rabbit hole, grow too tall and shrink too small, meet a smiling cat who disappears into the air, attend a tea party where time has stopped, and stand before a queen who believes every problem can be solved with one terrifying command. But beneath the wonder, the humor, and the nonsense, there is a quiet secret. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is not only a children's story. It is a dream about curiosity, growing up, identity, and the strange rules of the adult world. So settle in. Let your shoulders soften. Let the room become quiet. And if your thoughts have been running in circles all day, allow them to slow down now. Because in a moment we are going down the rabbit hole. And once we do, nothing will behave quite the way we expect. Welcome to tonight's sleep story and book summary. This is a calm retelling of Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, first published in 1865 and remembered as one of the most famous works of English children's literature. You do not need to concentrate too hard. You do not need to remember every detail. Just let the story move slowly through your imagination, like moonlight crossing a quiet room. If you are here to sleep, let the words become soft and distant. If you are here to learn, you will gently discover the main plot, characters, and deeper ideas of the book. And if you are somewhere in between, that is perfectly fine too. For Wonderland is a place for people who are awake, people who are dreaming, and people who are not quite sure which is which. On a warm and sleepy afternoon, Alice sits beside her sister on a riverbank. The day is gentle. The air is still. Her sister is reading a book, but to Alice, the book does not seem very interesting, because it has no pictures and no conversations. The grass is soft beneath her. The summer air makes her eyelids heavy. She is almost ready to drift into sleep when something very unusual passes by. A white rabbit. That alone might not be so strange in a dreamlike story. But this rabbit is wearing a waistcoat. And from the pocket of that waistcoat he pulls out a watch. "Oh dear," he says. "Oh dear. I shall be too late." Now Alice is curious. And curiosity is the little key that opens the first door of Wonderland. She follows the white rabbit across the field and sees him disappear into a rabbit hole. Without thinking too much about how deep it might be, or where it might lead, Alice follows him down. And then she begins to fall. Down, down, down. The fall is long, but strangely gentle. It is not a frightening fall. It is more like floating through a tunnel between the waking world and the dreaming world. Shelves and cupboards pass by in the walls. Alice has time to look around. She wonders how far she has fallen. She wonders whether she might fall right through the earth. And all the while, the white rabbit is somewhere ahead of her, hurrying deeper into the dream. At last, Alice lands softly in a long hall filled with doors. There are doors of different sizes all around her, but everyone is locked. Then she notices a small glass table with a tiny golden key. The key fits a little door hidden behind a curtain. Alice opens it and sees, beyond the doorway, the most beautiful garden. The garden is bright, peaceful, and full of promise. It is the kind of place that seems to be waiting just for her. But there is a problem. Alice is much too large to fit through the door. This is the first great frustration of Wonderland. The thing she wants is right in front of her, but she cannot reach it. Then Alice finds a bottle labeled "Drink Me." She drinks from it, and soon she becomes smaller and smaller, until she is just the right size for the door. But now the key is high above her on the glass table, far beyond her reach. Then she finds a cake labeled "Eat Me." She eats it, and suddenly she grows again, taller and taller, until she fills the hall. Unable to enter the garden, overwhelmed by confusion, Alice begins to cry. Her tears gather around her until they become a pool, and when she shrinks again, she finds herself swimming in the water made from her own sadness. There is something strangely beautiful in this moment. Alice is lost inside a world where every solution creates a new problem. She changes size, but still cannot find her way. She follows instructions, but the instructions do not give her peace. And perhaps this is why the story still feels familiar. Sometimes life itself feels like a hallway of locked doors. Sometimes we are too big for one thing, too small for another, and unsure which version of ourselves is the true one. But Alice keeps moving. And in Wonderland, moving forward is often the only way to understand what comes next. Before we follow Alice further, remember the little garden behind the door. We will return to it later. That garden is more than a place. It is a symbol of something Alice wants but cannot yet enter. Order, beauty, belonging, and perhaps even maturity. For now, she is still at the beginning of the dream, and Wonderland has only just begun to change her. In the pool of tears, Alice meets a mouse and several other animals. They all find themselves wet and uncomfortable, gathered together on the shore. To get dry, the dodo proposes a Caucus race. It is a race with no clear beginning and no clear ending. Everyone runs in circles, and when it is over, everyone is declared the winner. This is one of the earliest examples of the book's famous nonsense logic. Wonderland often imitates real-world rules, but twists them until they become ridiculous. A race with no rules. A trial with no justice. A tea party with no time. A queen with power but no wisdom. Soon Alice meets the White Rabbit again. This time, he mistakes her for his servant and sends her to fetch his gloves and fan. Alice enters his house, finds another bottle, drinks from it, and grows so large that she fills the room. Her arm reaches out of the window. Her foot presses up the chimney. The White Rabbit and his helpers try to remove her. They throw little stones at her. But in Wonderland, even stones do not remain stones. They turn into cakes. Alice eats them, shrinks again, and escapes into the forest. There, she meets one of the most important figures in the story, the caterpillar. He sits on a mushroom, calmly smoking a hookah, and looks at Alice with slow, serious eyes. Then he asks her a simple question. Who are you? It is a small question, but in Wonderland, it becomes enormous. Alice does not know how to answer. Since morning, she has changed size so many times that she no longer feels certain of herself. She tries to explain that she is not quite herself, but the caterpillar is not satisfied. The theme of identity is central to Alice's journey. Throughout the story, Alice is mistaken for other people and creatures, questioned by strangers, and made uncertain by her own changing body. When she grows too tall or shrinks too small, the outside world changes how it sees her, and she begins to wonder whether she has changed inside as well. The caterpillar gives her advice. One side of the mushroom will make her grow taller, and the other side will make her grow shorter. Alice takes pieces of the mushroom and continues on her way, now carrying the means to adjust herself in a world that refuses to stay stable. There is a soft lesson here, hidden inside the nonsense. Growing up often feels like this. We try to become the right size for each situation. We try to fit through doors. We try to answer questions we are not ready to answer. And sometimes, like Alice, we are still learning how to be ourselves. Alice comes to the house of the Duchess, where everything is noise and confusion. The cook throws pepper into the soup until everyone is sneezing. The Duchess holds a baby, but not very gently. The room is crowded with shouting, smoke, and strange behavior. In the middle of the chaos is a cat, the Cheshire Cat. He has a wide grin and an unsettling calm. Unlike many creatures in Wonderland, he does not seem rushed, angry, or confused. He simply watches and smiles. When Alice later meets him outside, she asks which way she should go. The cat answers with one of the story's most famous ideas. If Alice does not know where she wants to go, then it does not much matter which way she walks. He tells her that in one direction lives the March Hare, and in another lives the Hatter. Both, he says, are mad. Alice says she does not want to go among mad people. But the cat tells her that everyone in Wonderland is mad. And since she is there too, she must be mad as well. Then the Cheshire Cat vanishes, slowly, piece by piece, until only his grin remains floating in the air. Imagine that image for a moment. A smile without a face. A sign without a body. A a question without an answer. The Cheshire Cat is one of the great mysteries of Wonderland because he understands the rules of the place, but he does not try to fix them. He accepts the madness and moves through it freely. For a sleep story, this is a perfect moment to slow down. Let the grin fade gently. Let the forest become quiet again. And let Alice continue along the path toward one of the strangest tea parties ever written. Alice arrives at a table set beneath a tree. The March Hare, the Hatter, and the Dormouse are having tea. There are many chairs, but they tell Alice there is no room. Of course, there is plenty of room. This is how Wonderland works. Things are said that are not true. Questions are asked without answers. Riddles are offered without solutions. Conversations begin in one place and end somewhere entirely different. The Hatter asks Alice a riddle. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Alice tries to solve it, but eventually it becomes clear that the Hatter does not know the answer either. The tea party is funny, but it is also quietly frustrating. No one listens properly. No one follows the ordinary rules of conversation. Time itself seems broken. The Hatter explains that time is not just something on a clock. Time is almost like a person. And because time has been offended, it is always 6 o'clock at the tea table. Always tea time. Always the same moment. Always moving cups but never moving forward. This scene is one of the book's clearest examples of Lewis Carroll's playful use of nonsense, language, and logic. The novel became famous partly because Carroll turned riddles, poems, and ordinary reasoning upside down. For Alice, however, the tea party becomes exhausting. She leaves, tired of being contradicted and misunderstood. Soon she finds a door in a tree. This door leads her back to the great hall where her journey began. This time, with the help of the mushroom, she is finally able to become the right size, take the golden key, open the tiny door, and enter the beautiful garden. The place she wanted at the beginning is now open to her. But the garden is not as peaceful as it seemed, because waiting there is the Queen of Hearts. This is one of the most important turns in the story. Alice has reached the garden, but instead of finding perfect peace, she finds power, anger, and fear. And this is a quiet reminder that sometimes the thing we chase in a dream is not the end of the journey. Sometimes it is only the next lesson. In the garden, Alice meets gardeners shaped like playing cards. They are painting white roses red because they planted the wrong kind of rose tree, and they are terrified the Queen will discover their mistake. Then the royal procession arrives. The Queen of Hearts is loud, impatient, and furious. Her favorite command is simple: off with their heads. She says it again and again, ordering executions for anyone who displeases her. Alice is invited or perhaps forced to join a game of croquet. But this is not ordinary croquet. The mallets are live flamingos. The balls are hedgehogs. The archers are playing cards bending over on their hands and feet. Nothing stays still long enough to be used properly. The flamingos twist their necks. The hedgehogs crawl away. The players do not take turns. The Queen shouts. The field becomes chaos. This game is another picture of Wonderland's deeper meaning. It looks like a game with rules, but the rules are unstable. It looks like authority, but the authority is unreasonable. It looks like order, but beneath the surface, everything is absurd. Many readers see Wonderland as a child's view of the adult world, full of rules that seem arbitrary, social customs that make little sense, and powerful people who demand obedience without explanation. Alice is still polite, but she is becoming stronger. She is learning when to question nonsense. She is learning that not every command deserves fear. The Cheshire Cat appears again, or at least his head does, floating in the air. This creates a problem for the king and queen. How can they cut off a head when there is no body attached to it? Even execution becomes impossible when logic refuses to cooperate. Eventually, Alice is taken to meet the griffin and the mock turtle. The mock turtle is a melancholy creature who tells Alice about his school days under the sea. His lessons have strange names: reeling and writhing instead of reading and writing, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision. The jokes are playful, but the mood is slower now, almost dreamlike in a different way. The mock turtle and the griffin sing songs and describe dances, and Alice listens as best she can. At this point in the story, Wonderland feels less like a place with a destination and more like a river carrying Alice from one strange encounter to another. This is part of the book's charm. It does not move like an ordinary adventure story. It moves like a dream. Scenes appear, transform, and dissolve. Characters arrive, speak in riddles, and disappear. Alice tries to make sense of everything, but the dream does not always want to be solved. Then a cry is heard in the distance. The trial is beginning, and Alice is called toward the final scene of Wonderland. The Knave of Hearts has been accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. The court is full of the creatures Alice has met throughout her journey. The king is the judge. The white rabbit acts as herald. The jurors write things down, though they do not seem to understand very much. Witnesses are called, including the Hatter and the Duchess's cook, but their testimony makes little sense. The whole trial is a performance of justice without the spirit of justice. Rules are spoken but not understood. Evidence is presented, but not interpreted fairly. The Queen wants the sentence first and the verdict afterward. Alice, who has been growing again, is finally called as a witness. By now she is no longer the same uncertain girl who cried in the hallway of doors. She has seen the caterpillar, the Cheshire Cat, the tea party, the Queen's croquet ground, and all the strange logic of Wonderland. She is larger now, not only in size but in courage. When the court becomes too absurd, Alice speaks up. She refuses to be frightened by nonsense. The Queen orders her execution, but Alice finally sees the truth. They are only a pack of cards. At that moment, the cards rise into the air and fly at her, and Alice wakes. She is back on the riverbank with her head in her sister's lap. The warm afternoon is still there. The real world has returned. Her sister brushes away the leaves that had fallen on Alice's face, and Alice tells her all about the strange dream. Then Alice runs off, while her sister remains behind, imagining the dream for herself. The journey is over, or perhaps it is not over at all, because a story like Wonderland does not truly end when the dreamer wakes. It remains somewhere in the mind, like a door half hidden behind a curtain. And now, as the story comes to rest, imagine Alice once more beside the riverbank. The afternoon is soft. The grass is warm. The pages of her sister's book move gently in the breeze. Somewhere far away, perhaps a white rabbit is still checking his watch. Somewhere in the trees, a grin may still be fading into the air. Somewhere, at a table beneath the leaves, it may always be 6 o'clock. But Alice is safe now. She has returned from the dream. And perhaps you can return from the day in the same way. Let the strange thoughts become cards drifting down. Let the locked doors close softly. Let the garden grow quiet under a silver sky. You do not need to solve every riddle tonight. You do not need to know exactly who you are in every moment. For now it is enough to rest. Enough to breathe. Enough to let curiosity become calm. And if sleep comes, let it come gently. Down, down, down. Not into confusion this time, but into peace.